What is the narrative I'm talking about? It is, of course, that Christianity is kaput, which no one can deny, and the other next bit of that narrative is that liberalism is for losers, which is also undeniable. Alexander Dugin certainly thinks that, and therefore the West needs a new moral system. And it can only be a religion because secular political ideologies have failed. We can think of fascism, Nazism, liberalism, socialism, fascism, communism, and we know they've been tried and they've been tested and they have failed. Therefore, we must be very clear about I must be very clear about what I'm saying. But I think it's probably because I think it's quite obvious what I'm saying. I'm always putting to you the possibility that God might exist and all this makes sense and is going towards a particular outcome, a particular resolution, a particular conclusion. And I'm nudging you along. I want you to accept the soundness of my arguments. But it would appear that nobody really cares about the arguments. If they don't like where it's going, then they'll just reject it. It's all about what they like. And it's very difficult to please all these different people who all like different things. And so, quite ruthless methods may be used against them, particularly by the government who control the resources of the media. So my narrative is that the world is being punished for its sin, for not being Muslim, and Jews have been very naughty indeed for not telling Christians earlier that Christianity is cursed by God because of its idolatry and blasphemy, and Muslims who think that themselves so much better than Jews should also acknowledge that they haven't been doing any better as regards telling Gentiles about their idolatry, in particular Christians, because Christians practice the worst kind of idolatry because they blatantly go against their own principles. It's almost as if I were a water company and I sold you fire. It's so blatantly the idolatry that any child who understands the concept of idolatry, which is a sin of bowing before idols, would think that Christianity is indeed a religion of bowing before idols. And it doesn't matter if it's your religion and it's a religion of your parents and your grandparents and your ancestors. It's still the case that Christians do worship idols. But you would have thought some chain of thought might be triggered by this strange state of affairs. But nobody cares. Nobody cares like me. So my narrative is that if we suffer, it's because of our sin, and the only way of stopping the suffering is to stop the sinning. What are the sins? You can go through the 7 no-hide laws. Even Jews should go through the no-hide laws, because they are the minimum moral standard for all humanity. Jews are supposed to adhere to a stricter set of restrictions. But the point remains that Christianity is kaput, and Jews have never once in their entire history told Christians anything like this, because they have been too cowardly, or the Christians have been too fierce, or because Muslims don't care to tell Christians either about their idolatry and blasphemy, and therefore I have to do it on their behalves. And these Jewish men and these Muslim men should be ashamed of themselves for leaving the job of telling Christians that they are idolaters and blasphemers to little old me, when these Jews would have got better results if only they would say what is necessary for them to say. Oh dear, I've forgotten what the rest of it was now that I was going to say. I seem to be lulled to sleep with my own voice. So the narrative is unfalsifiable because, oh yes, I think, sorry about that. It's Discord, it always keeps going, even when I have no messages for myself. Alright. This is actually apropos my conversation with somebody on Discord, so now I can't read what he's saying to me. But okay, I will end by talking about why the existence of God is unfalsifiable. You might not believe it yourself. You might think it's some kind of, rhetorical trick to make you believe in God, and your senses don't tell you it. You just don't, feel it for God. But I'm saying, as an intellectual device of solving problems, I don't think there's anything better than the system that I have laid before you, which is to assume that suffering is punishment for sin. And we may not think that we personally have sinned, but certainly collectively, as a group, you have sinned. Okay, so what is the biggest group? Because there are, all kinds of, groups like political organisations that may close down, such as Britain First, which has decided to close down, according to Anne-Marie Waters. So it must be a disappointment to the people who use it as a social club. But these people suffer because they're completely clueless about their own political system. I think I'm a kind person. I've tried to explain to them what is happening to them, and they're not taking it from me because, well, I'm not white, I'm not male, or there may be some other reason, I don't know. Or they just don't like it, even if I were white, and even if I were male, even if I was high-born aristocrat, they might not listen to me because the message is so horrible, I guess. When you tell these Westerners at their Christianity is kaput and that their liberalism is for losers. Nobody wants to hear that about their own civilization. Well, the Chinese had to take it on the chin. And did they correct themselves? I mean, you can correct yourself, on one occasion, and then you veer off course again. And I think that is also happening to the Chinese and the Japanese. The Overton window keeps shifting, or, well, is moving the Overton window around, a good long-term strategy? Surely if they are eternal and universal laws, you want to follow them as long as you can. And that is really what I refer to, that they exist arguably for our own benefit. Which ones do we disagree with? None, well, I can't think of anything unreasonable in it, because it's all there to do the job of keeping the group together. So I won't go on much longer, because I think I've said what I need to say, which is that the narrative that is compelling and unfalsifiable is the narrative of the Abrahamic God, whether you be Jew or Gentile, or Christian or Muslim.